Welcome to Las Pinata, the podcast where we talk about life in the creative landscape. I'm Terrence.
And I'm Dave. If you enjoy this episode, please like, follow, and share the program with your friends.
Today we'll be talking about, we're going to
do a superhero sidebar, right?
Yes, today we're going to have a superhero sidebar, as we are wont to do.
And we're going to talk about our least favorite comic book characters.
Yes, because why not?
You got to talk about something.
Yeah, it's fun to. Everybody talks about their favorites, and we were talking about everybody doing hero battles always with their favorites, and I don't know, just the thought was like, who's your least favorite, and why?
Yeah. And then, like, who would you like to see beat up your least favorite hero?
Actually, I wonder what we should. Could my least favorite beat your most favorite? That's, I think, a good question. Or could my least favorite beat your least favorite?
Yeah.
Well, they probably could.
All right. Do we want to start with our absolute least favorite, or do we want to work our way up to that? Because I picked multiple least favorites per kind of category. Well, I'll just describe what I did. I set out and kind of wrote down my least favorite by kind of a category grouping. Like X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And well, first off, they're heroes. They have to be heroes.
Yeah, they're all heroes.
They have to be. And then I kind of went to different categories. So I have like Avengers, X-Men, FF, street level characters, and then as like which are my least, and then other. Right. I also have one for JLA or DC characters because I don't know them as well. But I didn't. I'll admit I didn't come up with one there.
That would be just DC characters
on my. Oh well, no, I like a lot of DC characters.
There isn't one that. Okay, let's start off with universes then. Overall, I like the Marvel universe over DC universe.
Yes. Well, I'm curious. Have there been any other universes that you like more than Marvel at this point?
No, Marvel. Obviously, Marvel's where I started reading comic books, and therefore, that's
it's got a little.
But like with Image Comics, that universe didn't, and the Wildstorm, was that like really kind of a universe?
Which company does the Invincible universe? Because it seems like that's really huge right now. Invincible.
Yeah. I only watched the series. I didn't really read into all the books or anything. But I've thoroughly enjoyed that series. So that's been pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of get the impression that's kind of like I'm imagining that's what Spider-Man was like when it first came on the scene. Becoming that popular, even though it's derivative of Superman.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways, but yeah, I remember, it's kind of interesting to just imagine exactly what Spider-Man looked like when, in the comic book scene, when it became so dominant in the late 60s and whatnot, or in the 60s.
But yeah, okay, so I don't know. I did not have as clear-cut ideas, so...
we talked about our favorite comic book company. Do you have a least favorite comic book company?
Well, no, that's what I was saying. My least favorite would, maybe
not because there's independence. Like
Image, but I would say,
maybe Vertigo.
Well, I've liked actually because Vertigo is DC run, and of DC comics, I like Vertigo.
Vertigo's good.
So,
what about Epic? The Epic.
Epic had ElfQuest, so Right?
Oh, they did ElfQuest? Okay.
I think they did ElfQuest, and I really liked ElfQuest.
There was the new universe in Marvel. I really liked the new universe. That was a big, even though I thought half the titles were crap.
But I liked the idea and where they were going, and they never quite could stick it.
By the way, somebody's watching. We should keep an eye on the chat.
Okay.
But let's stick to So would you want to just sort of limit it to the Marvel universe then?
All right. Yeah.
If that's because I'll admit all the ones that I came up with are Marvel.
Yeah. That's where that's where I live. So.
Yeah. So I've got 4 characters that I decided that I didn't.
I've got a smattering of characters, and then before I got to my really like the 2 that the ones that I really are my least favorite. So.
I'm going to start with my X-Men least favorite character.
Okay.
Which is actually I'm going to make it a tie because but Cable and Deadpool I'm not a big fan.
Okay.
And this is comics only. I think they were great in the movies. I like the Deadpool movies are
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah.
But every time I've seen Deadpool or Cable in the comics, which has not been a lot because I don't like them, so I don't read them very much.
Yeah.
I just don't like them. I mean, it just represents the '90s fixations, the overindulgences of the '90s that I didn't like. Cable just seems way
Also,
too convoluted.
but made by the exact same creator, weren't they? So it's like he was very
Yeah.
much the '90s extreme.
Well, I saw a thing on Deadpool and how, I mean, he was created by who was it?
Was it Liefeld or Leafield? I never
Yeah,
know.
Leafield, I think.
So
Yeah.
saying
So I don't know the proper way to pronounce it either. I don't really care. But yeah, I think he was it was technically created by him, but what made Deadpool was kind of developed by multiple people over time. I saw a little video on that on my favorite comics YouTube show, Comic Tropes. I'll give a call out to that. I think that's a really great show. But yeah, Deadpool just is, there's a fixation with
he got too big.
Violence and the jokes didn't necessarily land with me. Again, the movies totally worked. Hey, welcome back, Latex, double O Latex. I don't know I can't pronounce your name, but that's what I'm going to call you. I hope that's not too bad. Double O Latex. But the but the movies, I think I really love Deadpool and Cable. LX, okay. Oh, LX, okay. There we go. Let's do that. Or Dave. Oh, that's my name too.
Oh,
So,
Dave.
there we go. So I make that distinction between the comics and the movies because I think the movie versions are really great.
The movies are fantastic. Yes, I think that he got overexposed, kind of like Wolverine at a period in time. There are characters that just get overexposed, and that was definitely Deadpool.
Well, I actually considered picking Wolverine not because I dislike Wolverine, but because for that very reason that he was. I thought he was great as one of an ensemble cast in X-Men, and that he was the rebel and he was the guy that pushed back against Cyclops.
Right.
I thought giving him his own magazine and then he kind of inspired the '90s in my mind, which is like very violent stuff.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really, I'm such an old school comic book guy that I guess I prefer punching over slashing. There's some sort of thing about like it's okay.
Well, I mean,
he's to brutalize people in one way, but not the other way.
Well, that was the thing. He's always had a troubled use as a hero because he's just got giant knives on his hands. And
yeah, I think for the most part, I don't really like heroes that kill, and that's just me being an old fashioned comic book dude. So, but I do like Wolverine. I always thought he was a really great character. I just didn't like what he wrought.
Okay.
So okay, what's your pick? Your first.
So
pick?
my first tier, I guess, of disliked character was Gambit, who's also X-Men.
Oh, okay, because he's really popular.
Yeah, and
I guess that's the thing.
I didn't like him because of how he came about, and I felt like he just basically took Nightcrawler's place because that was Nightcrawler's character until Gambit came about.
Oh, really? Well, I guess Gambit is one of those characters I'm actually not that familiar with because, again, prominent in the '90s.
Well, I think I think we're gonna suffer that with a lot of these. It's like I didn't like this character, so I didn't read about him. So
have you noticed that we keep coming up with topics that we can't talk about once we get into them? But go ahead.
But we can talk about an opinion. So my opinion is based on it's like Nightcrawler to me was this great, fantastic, swashbuckling devil may care kind of character, and then they switched him into a priest, and I felt that was all Gambit's fault. And Gambit was not as. I didn't find him as attractive as a character as other people did. Him with Baby Storm at the start and all that. With Storm was de-aged and his Thieves Guild stuff and all that. So it's just like it didn't do it for me. And then they paired him with Rogue, who I always liked Rogue, and I was like, no, not that. And so
that seems like an odd pairing to me.
I never liked him, and
I liked him delving into the religious side of Nightcrawler, but he was always kind of a goofball. I think that was he tried to. I mean, not a goofball in the same way that the Beast was, but I mean, he was kind of, was swashbuckling fun.
Yeah,
The fun part was more important than being swashbuckler in a lot of ways.
I guess.
And I thought that he was cute. I guess he was cute.
Yeah.
And I liked the religious aspect. I thought that gave him a lot of
Well,
depth.
yeah, because he looks like the demon, and so that was like, that was there, but it's like they went heavy on that, and they took away all his fun.
Well, yeah, if you take away the fun, yeah.
Mhm.
So that's interesting. That's a different question about there's the least favorite character. Then there's also your least favorite iteration of a character that you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, so
that's interesting.
oh, actually, yeah. So maybe that's a take on that too. Yeah, but that's why I don't like Gambit. It's because he hurt a character that I really
You feel
like.
like he stole the yeah. Well, that's kind of like the Family Guy coming on and taking away a lot of the humor from The Simpsons.
Oh,
A lot of the non sequitur humor that I've heard this that like when the Family Guy debuted, The Simpsons didn't want to copy that. They didn't want to seem like they were copying that humor, even though the Family Guy was clearly copying that humor from Simpsons.
interesting.
Anyway, and that may be why The Simpsons hit less for me later on, but anyway.
So
well, let's see. I got another one here, and this is again contextual here.
Okay.
I don't like the Sentry in the sense that I don't think Marvel needs to have a Superman. And it's kind of, I will say this, that the original Sentry miniseries, I think is really, really good.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really good. But I think they should have just kept it that he was, keep that mystery. He should not be a regular character.
Right.
I feel like the way that I've seen him dealt with otherwise is 100% less compelling than the way he was originally introduced. So that's one where it's like, yeah, I like him in a very limited sense, but I don't want him to be a regular part.
No, I think I'm right that he was almost on my list, honestly, because I mean, but then I was like, but they did do some really interesting things with him to start with, and so because of that, he's not on my list. So. But yeah, is he going to be the villain in the Thunderbolts movie?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. So that should
be interesting. Well, I don't know if he's going to, because the way the Sentry works is he's kind of both the hero and the villain, right? He's got his subconscious, which is but I think that he's going to be the character that they're going to be handling.
Yes. All right. Yes. All right. So then, I don't know. My next, I don't know. Maybe they're just characters I really could care less about. But all of the Captain Marvels and Nova, like, I just never cared.
And Nova, why Nova?
I don't know. I lump them into the same category. They're just these spacey people that I couldn't care less about. Their origins are just not.
Wait a minute. Are you including the Monica Rambeau?
No. I shouldn't say. I should say Marvel.
So the original Marvel and then Marvel that became Captain Marvel.
And then like whatever his son is Janice Marvel or something like that. Like those.
They're Phyla-Vell or something. So you don't like the Marvel family,
right?
But does that include Carol Danvers?
No, not Carol Danvers. As a character, she's been interesting. So I would say that. And then not Monica Rambeau, who's just
what about Kamala Khan? What about Kamala Khan?
Well, she's Miss Marvel. Right? So she's a different.
Well, but I'm just trying to figure out what's the
so not it's like everybody related to Marvel
and Nova. So it's like, okay, what's your scope?
Okay, so
you don't like cosmic heroes, is what you're saying.
Actually, yeah, maybe that's it because Quasar could be in that group too.
Well, Quasar is just lame.
Well, see, and that's how I feel about Nova and the original Captain Marvel.
Well, the reason I like Nova is because they had the whole there was the cosmic in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
There was the cosmic line of Marvel, which I thought was better than a lot of the other stuff because they had like the Annihilation Wave, they had the Infinity Gauntlet stuff, and the Guardians of the Galaxy and Nova were both very prominent in that, and I thought they were extremely well written at the time by Andy Lanning and who's the other guy that had a writing partner? Can't remember the guy's name, but I thought those were really good. So I became a fan. Yeah, I'll admit Nova was. Well, I don't know. I have fond memories of Nova back in the 70s. There was a great Fantastic Four run where the Sphinx had grown too powerful. And so the Fantastic Four went and got Galactus to fight against him. And it was this big epic battle. But at one point, Nova and the some other heroes that had survived from Nova's home planet were fighting against the Sphinx, and it was kind of a cool battle.
That sounds more interesting than anything I've seen. So maybe I'll look that up. I'll give it a try. All right. So.
Well, let's see. So, okay. Well, if we go on to next on my list, it's my ultimate least favorite hero.
You're up to.
Do you have more? Do you have more?
I have a couple more that I don't know that I like.
And by the way, just a reminder, we're getting up to the point where our two least favorite heroes are going to battle.
Okay, so like, I never liked the Red She-Hulk. I just thought it was pointless and extra. Just it seemed like a publicity stunt.
That's a good one. Okay.
And not.
Oh God, I could put the Red Hulk in there. I don't like the Red Hulk.
I liked the origin of the Red Hulk initially because it was like nobody knew. It was the mystery of who is it? Who's this Red Hulk? And that was
where'd the mustache go?
Yeah. But
seems like it would have been easy to figure out who it was if you had the mustache.
True, very true.
Yeah.
But that was cool.
Put me down though for the Red Hulk.
Put
me down for in the Hulk universe. The Red Hulk's my least favorite because I remember reading the Red Hulk and it was basically just the Red Hulk would come up and just sort of like appear out of nowhere and punch somebody. This was this whole thing where there'd just be these sucker punches all the time, and it would just be like, "I'm the Red Hulk." Boom! And he would punch out Thor, or he'd punch out Dr. Doom, or something.
Yeah,
and he'd just appear out of nowhere, and I'm like, "This is so goddamn stupid."
But you didn't know who he was. It was exciting.
Well, no, I understand the mystery part, but that didn't improve upon the stupidity of the sucker punch. There was like a sucker punch in the splash page every issue or whatever. So.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and then my other one is the twins from Alpha Flight, Aurora and North Star.
Oh, okay.
I've always found them irritating, and in part because I always disliked the way that they treated her mental thing.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah. And then are they like and their dubious connection to whatever it is.
Have a good one, Alex. He's taking off.
Yeah, right.
He's bouncing.
And their dubious connection to whatever it was, their elven worlds or something.
Well, that's the thing with North Star and Aurora was I really felt like they were poorly handled after John Byrne left the series. I think once Bill Mantlo took over. So that's another case where it's sort of like I don't like how they were handled by different authors.
I mean, because I could say the same thing for like Man-Thing now. I hate how Man-Thing is handled now.
Yeah.
But I like Man-Thing as a character. At least there's a period of time where I really liked Man-Thing, where Man-Thing was, my thing. But then, okay, so now I'm down to my number ones.
Okay, who's your number one?
It's kind of a family thing.
Oh, wait, family is in like you have a dispute with your actual family? Or
no, it's in like
it's like the Shazam family or something.
It's like a Shazam family.
Okay.
Because it just kind of got too far and too messy and it's ridiculous and stupid. And if I had to pick one member of this family to be the main one that I dislike the least, it would be Havoc. And the rest of
the Summers family.
The Summers family.
You can. I'd be okay with you picking the entire clan.
I like Cyclops, and I can even accept his space pirate father. And,
of course, yeah.
And I can accept Rachel Summers or Gray, whichever she is now, and but the rest of it, like, really, it's Havoc and his brother Vulcan.
Vulcan! I forgot about Vulcan.
Yeah, everybody forgets about Vulcan. Like, I just never liked them. I always thought they were the lesser of any characters out of all of Marveldom in a way. Like, he was like the brother who never wanted to do anything or be anything and has this power that's like, and it just is a power that doesn't work on his own brother. And that was like his whole shtick. It's like we're brothers who can't hurt each other with their powers.
Well, he got to date Polaris.
And Polaris, who
She was cute.
God, who does is Polaris actually Magneto's daughter now? Like I don't
I
know.
think
They keep
sometimes she
changing who
is,
his
sometimes
children
she's
are.
not.
Yeah.
I
So,
think it varies.
but like I was so like when they ended well a series. There's a series where he dies, but he doesn't die. He goes into an alternate universe. I was like, God, why could they just kill him? I would have been so happy if they just let him go. He is not a great character.
Well, he used to be somebody who would just show up occasionally for guest appearances. He
Yeah,
wasn't a regular, So some of these may be just they're regular characters.
but he had no value as like what is he, a paleontologist? Like who has like cosmic powers?
Well, I think originally he was the guy that didn't want to be a superhero.
Right, right. So
Which I
let
think
him
is
not
a
be a
neat. I think
superhero.
that's a neat concept.
Which I was okay with that, let him just be. But then
Yeah.
they keep putting him in books and making him heroic. And it's like, guy is just like, and there's nothing special or good about him. Like, really, like, as a character, he's dull as toast. And he brings nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And I feel like, and he's only there because of his famous brother. Like, that's how I feel.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can understand how people have gotten kind of sick of Cyclops and Professor X over time. They've both kind of.
Well, I'm not saying
interesting
Cyclops. I
trajectories.
love Cyclops.
You love Cyclops, okay?
Cyclops is a great character. Cyclops is awesome.
I like Cyclops.
I've always liked Cyclops. I like Cyclops and Jean Grey. Don't get me on the Wolverine Jean Grey love triangle thing. I hate that. But Cyclops.
Wait. We're also talking about Wolverine and Cyclops at this point. This is that they've got the triangle part has really taken off over time.
Yeah, which is just like it's just nonsense to me. Because it came from just a random like aside, wasn't it, in like an early comic? And then now it's blown up into like, oh, this is going to be a thing that we're going to write into all the things that there's this love triangle and all. And it's like, isn't like Wolverine's like 200 years old lusting after this child?
Oh, it's like a Twilight situation.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Well, it's not like, I mean, how old is Jean Grey at this point? Like 35? I mean,
well, yeah, but
it's
still
not like she's
in comparison to Wolverine.
Well, there's
like, oh,
yeah, but it's not like
the movies. I think were really a disservice to the character of Wolverine. Dreaming about Jean Grey. I'm like, really? This is bad.
Well, but Wolverine isn't part of his thing. Is that his healing factor causes his memories to be erased, and so he's not. He's mentally young too.
Okay, all right. Anyway, back to the reason. Back to Havoc, who's so boring we couldn't even continue to talk about.
He's just boring. That's true. That's right.
More interesting brother.
He's the boring. He's just so you dislike him. He's your least favorite because he's just boring.
Yeah. He's just like he's not a good character. I would like it less of him because like anytime he was the head of X Factor for a long time, I'm a big X Factor fan, and I just found him like he was the least interesting part of that book the entire time.
So. Yep. Okay. I like it. Well, I guess if we choose my least favorite character is the Punisher, and I really just again I think he got popularized by the same wave that was brought about by Wolverine, the whole violence wave,
Mm-hmm.
And it was the idea that you have this anti-hero who was just willing to kill the bad guys,
right?
And so he was kind of. I mean, I like Wolverine. Wolverine I thought was an interesting character, but the Punisher was just everything that was bad about Wolverine in my mind.
Essentially Rambo, like
he was. But I think I preferred him when he was a villain.
Yeah,
and I think they kind of turned him into an anti-hero, and he started having his own comics and stuff. But when he was a villain in the Daredevil or Spider-Man comics, I thought, oh, he's an interesting villain,
Yeah.
And he creates an interesting contrast to the things. So to the superheroes, who have ethics and stuff. But yeah, the Punisher to me just represents everything that was everything that I don't like about comics. I mean, first off, there's no superpowers, so he's got the least colorful costume or whatever. It's just a skull for a thing, and then And it's just guns. Guns to me are
Yeah.
just kind of lazy and boring when it comes to superheroes.
Unlike
And
a bow and arrow.
huh?
Unlike a bow and arrow.
Well, I much prefer a bow and arrow. Well, the thing is that if you look at the history of comic books, they were oftentimes, I mean, they were inspired by professional wrestling. And the thing about professional wrestlers is they always had a gimmick. Like if you had a superhero that used a giant stapler, that would be, the weapon. That's the kind of thing that
Yeah, yeah.
they would make it work. I mean, they never had a character. There, let's go into heroic origins mode here and create the stapler. But that actually would be interesting there to sort of maybe that could be our next topic is like if we think of superheroes as professional wrestlers, what's the gimmick for
Well,
the superhero?
I mean, I think you've already said it though. Like the heroes are basically. I mean, Spider-Man started out as a wrestler. If you think, about it, I mean,
it was more overt back in the days,
Yeah,
But I
it's
mean,
like,
it could
they were
also
just,
be like it could be like the knuckle rapper, who runs around with rulers and just like. I think that'd be kind of cool. I would love that. Would be like Daredevil, but with rulers. And it's like the teacher's pet or something, and runs around and just like wraps people's knuckles with these rulers. You see, that would be an old school superhero.
Yes.
Which I'm not going to say that's better than the Punisher, except that it is better than the Punisher.
It is. It has more color, more flavor to it.
I would like to see, however, how the gritty realistic version, what the gritty realistic version of that character would be, though. Because that they would, if it was invented in the 60s, it's like the rule. I mean, the name of the character could be the Ruler. The Ruler.
Yeah, the Ruler. That makes sense.
And just goes around. It's like it's a teacher by day and vigilante by night. The Ruler goes around wrapping the knuckles of ne'er do wells, and it's like, how would that get turned into the gritty, realistic superhero of the late 80s and early 90s or 90s? That would be interesting.
I know that the thing about the Punisher is like I was never really drawn to the Punisher, but I always liked the Fool Killer, who was essentially very much the same.
Fool Killer. Oh yeah, Fool Killer. Well, Fool Killer was a villain.
Yeah, but had little series where it was just like a guy who was then just driven and got the gun and started whacking people like.
Well, I don't mind them if they're portrayed as. I guess if the Punisher was kept as a villain. There's also Scourge. You remember Scourge?
Well, I thought Scourge ended up to be the Fool Killer in the end.
He may have been. I don't know.
If I'm not mistaken.
But I thought Scourge was a cool character, and I think they serve a purpose. But yeah, the Punisher to me is better as an antagonist, I guess.
Yeah. No,
not a protagonist.
I liked the idea of somebody who was not powered, but taking on villains. And
he's
so
a great foil. I think he's a great foil for superheroes.
Right. But when he's taking on, basically other people, because like that was his whole thing. He's like just murdering people who were just other people. They weren't superpowered people. They weren't, it wasn't like, so he's just basically killing people. And how that makes
without due process,
yeah, it's like that wasn't. Yeah,
I think, and again, I'll do this caveat here again is that I think the Punisher, well, on the Daredevil TV show, this actually is exactly what I'm talking about. The Daredevil TV show, when he's introduced in that, I think the Punisher's a great foil for Daredevil. It really is asking a lot of interesting questions. Why are you letting these people live? They're doing bad stuff.
Yeah.
But I could not stomach the the Punisher series. It just wasn't my thing. So
yeah, no, I don't think I finished that, and I think I thought it was 3 seasons, and I didn't finish the 3rd season. But I think it's only 2 seasons, and I didn't finish the 2nd. So
well, get ready for my new series, the Stapler. The Stapler and the Ruler teaming up.
Stapler, the Ruler. I don't know. They need to be like, fighting against I guess this like some Office brand. I don't know.
Oh, that's it. These could be. Well, it could be school supply. The school supplies,
actually, yeah.
The school supply squad. There's like glue. There's the glue. There's the sniffer.
I'm just thinking. There's got to be something like they're battling the metric system or something. It's like, oh no, it's from the future. It's
Well, but
the metric system.
but this is the key. It's they're not funded by taxes. In fact, that may be the opening thing is like this is the school supply squadron is a super group that they get budget cuts because the school district decides they're not going to fund school supplies anymore. So they have to. So they get some of the teachers put
They're
money.
all low budget teacher.
Yeah.
Like,
And they're like, oh, okay. And then they have, they have to hit them up. It's like, do you have $20? We need to get Band-Aids, Yeah.
oh, that would be fun. A crowd-funded hero group. Like,
I love the idea that would be their primary. That would be just like Peter Parker's always running out of money. It's like the school supply squadron would always be trying to get funds.
yeah.
What are the other supplies? We got glue.
You got glue sticks.
You got rulers. You got protractors. The protractor.
That sounds like a villain, though. Protractor. But the ruler, markers.
Oh yeah.
Crayons.
The crayons.
In these days, you got like wipes and Kleenex. Those are the common things. I don't know.
All right. Well, hey, I think that's a good place to stop. So,
okay.
Hey,
well, I was going to say we were going to do verses.
Oh, that's why we didn't do the verses. Okay, so Punisher versus Havoc. Wow. Well, first off, the Punisher wouldn't attack Havoc because Havoc's not a villain.
But he's attacked heroes before. He could just consider him a hazard, and therefore.
Well, he attacks them because he thinks they're villains, right, or something.
Right. Well, Havoc is named Havoc, and he may blow up something.
Yeah,
he's one of those villainous mutants.
I think the Punisher is liable to lose because Havoc is a hero, and the Punisher wouldn't know that he would have to defend himself until Havoc blew him away.
But the Punisher does the research and sneaks up on people, so he wouldn't come straight at him.
What research would be?
I mean, if you just look him up, his name is Havoc, and he has all this power that he can't control.
Read his diary that he's saying, "Oh, I'm going to take."
He worked for the government for a while, and you know how Punisher isn't big on the government.
Did he work for the government for a while?
With X Factor, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, but I mean, it's he wouldn't. I mean,
went to another dimension. He came back. Is this even
but
the same guy?
It's not like the Punisher goes after government people all the time.
No.
They got to be villains. So I mean, that's what I'm just saying. By the way, I'm definitely arguing because my least favorite hero is the Punisher. I want you to take him out.
But see, my least favorite hero is Havoc, and therefore I think that he could do absolutely nothing. He could just be standing there and get shot in the head, and he'd be done. No loss.
It could. I'm just saying that Frank would not.
What if Frank Castle sneaks up on him, shoots him, but because of that, all of that cosmic energy just explodes, and they both go.
Okay.
I
accept that. All right, folks. Well, that's it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, please like, follow, and share the program with your friends.
Be sure to catch the Lost Pinata live stream weekly on Twitch Thursdays. And go ahead.
Also, check out our other podcast, Heroic Origins, wherever you listen to podcasts. And I should say the next part. And of course, check out my personal website, www.davidcoyle.com, which covers all my music, videos, and podcast projects.
Now it's time for you to whack your own pinata and see what shakes out.
Get lost.
Beat it.
Oh, I'm supposed to hit the thing. Sorry.
Yeah.